Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I appreciate the debate. Appreciate Representative Hefner bringing this proposal forward. But I just sometimes wonder, if we're keeping a log or an account for the things that we're doing. Just about an hour ago, Representative Goldman, Chairman Goldman got up here and, in a semi-emotional way, talked about fentanyl and what fentanyl has done to our state and our country. We see it in the news every day. We see it in our community. We know somebody that may have lost a life. And so we just passed a law to engrossment that said if you are involved in the fentanyl racket, it is a felony of the second degree. Send you to prison for 20 years. And there's a mountain of evidence to support why we want to do that. There's a debate as to whether or not we should approach these issues with just tough on crime only, but setting that aside, we said that this is such a problem backed by so much evidence and so much law enforcement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's a second-degree felony. And it makes sense. And then we have a debate about voting, 25 million ballots cast, a small percentage, a fraction that's being investigated, and even a smaller number actually making it to a conviction. No law enforcement outcry, not a single sentence about how this fraud impacted an election and how some law enforcement agency is overwhelmed with all of the illegal voting taking place in the state. And frankly, as a member of the party who loses a lot of elections, I don't know what the complaint's about. Election results sort of speak for themselves. No evidence whatsoever, and we're about to say voting in fentanyl is the same serious problem we have in this state. So we're going to send everybody who traffics in fentanyl and everybody who potentially votes illegally, we're going to give you the same punishment. If I were a judge presiding over these cases, I'd be worried about having to hear cases sending people to prison for drugs and then sending people to prison for an allegation of voter fraud. I think we need to be careful what we do, what kind of message we send. And I think even more so, it's not as if we are debating this issue for the first time. We had a very passionate debate about voting 20 months ago. Some would say that, it took our chamber to a new low. And we've done a good job of moving forward and working forward and moving on things that matter to the state. And now we are being drugged back into dealing with an issue when we just decided to lower this to a misdemeanor, and there's been no passage of time, no evidence to support that there's a crime wave out there, that we need to address this by raising the standard. I'm sorry to say, but I think we're doing this to satisfy folks' political appetites, and we're not doing this for public policy. We're not doing it for the interests of our voters. We're not doing it for the interests of our state. I think we're checking some kind of partisan box, and I think that's when we do our worst work. And so I hope you see this for what it is. This is not an indictment on the member who brought this legislation forward. I take him at his word. He's doing what he thinks he needs to do to represent his district. But I can tell you the evidence that I see in the district I represent, the evidence I see in many of your districts, there is nothing there. And so I certainly hope that we would take up the chamber's time dealing with the issues that really matter, the issues that really need to be addressed, and we're not just checking political boxes. And with that, I hope you vote no on this.